Good morning, everybody. Today is Friday the 13th, March the 13th, 2020. The stock market is trying to recover, but it's not doing that great. If yesterday a lot of stocks dropped, 5, 10, 15%, right now they're recovering by trying to gain 1 or 2%, which is much slower than what we need. So just got the news that the president of Brazil does not have a coronavirus, and just this morning there was some news that he does have coronavirus. But the main thing right now is this: there's a lot of, not a lot, but some famous people in the government, in the show business, such as Tom Hanks and Prime Minister of Canada, actually his wife, getting infected with coronavirus. And that kind of tells you that this thing is very powerful and very sneaky. We as normal people are not able to, for example, get in touch with famous people such as actors and or the president of the United States and whatever, but this virus can. And that's kind of scary thing. So you would think that these people have a lot of helpers, have a lot of protection, have a lot of kind of like barriers before you could actually approach them. But somehow this virus slices right through all these barriers and infects them. So, and if this happens to very famous, very rich people with a lot of helpers, probably protection, and maybe even bodyguards, what can we talk about about regular people who don't have all those barriers, who don't have all those protections, and are pretty much exposed to anything that we touch or see on the street, right? So, but I would say that the major blow to the stock market would be if famous people will start dying. For example, if Tom Hanks and his wife suddenly, one of them dies or both of them die, because they're like in their 70s, I think, that basically tells you that the death rate of this thing is not 1 or 2%. It could be, some people will think it's 100%. He just got infected and he died. That's a 1-to-1 correspondence. One infection, one death. I'm not saying and I'm not wishing for Tom Hanks to die or any famous or anybody to die from this coronavirus. But if this happens, that's going to be a major, major blow to the stock market and to general psychology, and it will raise the fear factor tenfold. So, and obviously right now we are kind of like a very nervous and a very, very kind of like bad situation with the stock market, where nobody is thinking about investing. Everybody is thinking about pulling money out of the market, trying to spend on supplies or masks, or right now there's another new scare that's happening. It's called oxygen tanks. If you have an ability to somehow buy an oxygen tank, or if you have, for example, a grandma that is, I guess, kind of like suffering, not suffering, but she's sick, or she's, she needs an oxygen tank, you cannot just go and buy it, I think. But, if you got somebody who's got like a prescription for it, see if you could buy some extra oxygen tanks. Because what's happening in Italy right now is that if you get infected by the coronavirus and your immune system is weak, what happens is it attacks your lungs, and since there's no cure, there's no real like medication against this thing, it's just you against the virus. And if you got a strong body, you might be able to beat it, but if you're not, it's gonna be almost guaranteed death, because lungs, how could you live without lungs, right? So one way to save somebody like that, or make their chances higher to beat this coronavirus, is to give them oxygen from the oxygen tank. But guess what? In Italy, they just don't have that many oxygen tanks, and doctors are forced to choose who will get this oxygen tank. And guess what? When they have an old person and they have a young person, they are making choice in favor of a young person, because chances are that the young person would be able to survive the coronavirus with the oxygen tank. And these chances are much higher for somebody who is old, because you give this oxygen to an old person, but the body is not as strong anymore, and it's still, you still lose them. So, and I'm sure this is the same thing right now in America. But I just spoke with one of my friends, and he's like a rock climber. He climbs like Everest, and he says that if you're a rock climber, they actually sell oxygen tanks for rock climbers, because once you climb really high up in the mountain, the amount of oxygen in the air is pretty small, and they actually sell those things for this type of sportsmen, I would say, that they could breathe, and it will help them to tolerate great heights, such as like in the mountains. So maybe you could take a look on the internet, or go to this specialty stores and say, hey, can I get an oxygen tank, because I'm going climbing in the mountains. But if you do that, then and if something happens to your relatives or to yourself, and suddenly you're trying to grasp for air, but your lungs are shut, or they're like working only half full, this pure oxygen, this oxygen tank is going to make your lungs work better and easier for you to breathe, which will increase your chances of survival. And since it's a life and death situation, I would say that it's absolutely worth it to invest in an extra oxygen tank, or maybe a 2 or 3. I don't know how many can you afford, but you could buy it, store it in your garage or in your house, and if something happens, you always have a backup plan to try to revamp yourself and try to kind of basically survive this thing, especially if the coronavirus goes into your lungs, because I think this is the major problem and major place of attack for the coronavirus at this point. This is how most people die. They don't die from fear or some kind of like cough or some kind of body aches. No, they die because they cannot breathe. So there's companies out there that actually sell this type of equipment, and right now the stock is going up like crazy. If you want to find the stocks, go to the website 2stx.com. It will take you directly to the Apple App Store, where you could download, install, and run my app that covers 5,500 stocks and gives them buy and sell recommendations that are updated daily. And right now, daily is very important, because situation changes every single day, and if you miss something, you might be for a very unpleasant surprise. So thank you for your time. Stay healthy, stay away from the coronavirus and from sick people, and good luck trading, and happy Friday.